I couldn't have a child for 25 years, so I let my husband marry another woman. But I chose the woman myself, and what happened next changed everything. Look at my face, these lines are not just from age. They come from many years of waiting. We lived in a beautiful house with a big dining table. But every night by 7 p.m. the house was silent. No children. No laughter. Just me and my husband, eating quietly. Only the sound of spoons hitting plates. That sound broke me. One night, heavy rain poured down. Thunder shook the house. I looked at my husband and asked, "John, do you think God has forgotten us?" He said nothing. He just stared out the window. That silence hurt more than the storm. Inside I felt empty. Like a dry well. That was my womb. 25 years of waiting. And nothing to hold. People made it worse. At the market, a woman said, "My daughter has 4 children. She's tired. You are lucky you can rest." I smiled, but inside I was breaking. That was not rest. It was pain. At church, Sister Mary held my hand. "We are praying for you," she said. But her eyes judged me. I stopped going out. Weddings hurt. Naming ceremonies hurt more. I sat at the back hiding. I watched mothers dance with babies on their backs. Then I touched my own back. Nothing. Just emptiness. The pain felt too heavy to carry. Everything changed one Tuesday. My husband came home, sat on the bed, and kept quiet. Then I saw a tear on his face. "Vanetta," he said, "I went to my brother's house." He paused. His son held my hand and called me Grandpa. His voice broke. "I am getting old, and I have no child." My heart dropped. "I don't want to leave you," he said, "but I cannot die without a child." Then he said it. "I need another woman." I felt cold. "After 25 years?" I asked softly. "What else can I do?" he shouted. It was the first time he had ever raised his voice at me. That night we cried. I couldn't sleep, so I went to the kitchen. Deborah was there, sewing quietly. She was 21, but I still saw the little girl I brought from the village. I stood there watching her. Then a thought came. If my husband brings a stranger, she will fight me and take my place. But Deborah, I know her. I raised her. I whispered, "Vanetta, what are you doing?" The next morning I spoke to my husband. "You want a child?" I said. "I understand. But I won't accept a stranger in this house." He looked confused. "Then what do you want?" I pointed at Deborah. "Look at her." "Deborah," he said. "She is our help." "She is 21, I replied. "She is a woman. She respects me. If you marry her, she won't destroy this home." I took a deep breath. "She will be your wife, and still my daughter." At that moment, I didn't know if I had saved my marriage, or destroyed my life. My house will not be divided. John stayed quiet for a long time. He looked at me, then toward the kitchen. "Are you sure, Vanetta? You want me to marry the girl you raised?" I took a deep breath. "I would rather share you with someone who loves me, than lose you to someone who hates me." It was not an easy decision. We traveled to Deborah's village. The journey was long and quiet. John focused on driving. Deborah sat at the back, silent. I turned to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "Mommy, if this will bring peace, I will do it. You are the only mother I know." I looked away to hide my tears. I was giving up my place. Yet somehow I felt calm. When we arrived, her father sat under a mango tree. We explained everything. He looked at me and asked, "You raised her. Why do you want this?" I stood up. "I am protecting my home," I said. "I don't want a stranger to destroy it. I want someone I trust." The elders talked for hours. In the end they agreed. The rites were done. When it was over, I held Deborah's hand. We were no longer madam and maid. We returned as one family. The new life. After we returned from the village, from Deborah's marriage, I went to the market to change her wardrobe. She was no longer my maid. I bought her new clothes, fresh shoes, everything. I wanted her to have a completely new start. When I gave them to her, I expected she might ask, "Why didn't you give me money so I could choose them myself?" But she didn't. She was so happy, she hugged me and said, "Mommy, thank you so much." From that day we lived in peace. But it didn't last long. People began filling her head with bad advice. They told her to forget about me, that I was no longer her madam, and that now she was the one in charge. The first month felt strange. Neighbors watched and whispered. Deborah changed. She dressed well and sat in the living room. One evening, I heard her laughing with my husband. Jealousy rose in my chest. I looked at myself in the mirror. The years written on my face. Will he forget me? I wondered. Then Deborah called, "Mommy, come and eat." She served me first, and knelt to give me my plate. That was when I understood. She wasn't here to replace me. She was here to stand with me. Soon Deborah began to feel sick. She couldn't stand certain smells. I knew what it meant. We did a test. 2 lines. She started to cry. "Mommy, I'm sorry." I held her tightly. "This is not a mistake," I said. "This is our miracle." When John heard, he fell to his knees. "I am going to be a father," he cried. After 25 years. God answered. The unexpected blessing. As the months passed, her stomach grew fast. I looked at Deborah's growing belly and said, "You don't need to do any housework anymore. Rest, I will handle everything." But she shook her head quickly. "Mommy, no. I'm not sick. I'm strong. Let me continue my work." I touched her gently, but she held my hand and said, "This is my home too. I want to help." In that moment I realized she wasn't just carrying a baby, she was carrying peace in our home. We went to the hospital. The doctor checked, then smiled. "You've waited a long time," he said. My husband nodded. The doctor looked again. "I see 1, 2. He smiled wider. "Triplets." I shouted in shock. 3 babies. 2 boys and 1 girl. In one moment everything changed. From silence to a house about to be filled with life. The day the triplets came home. That was the day silence ended. We arrived in a beautiful Jeep. I carried the 2 boys. Deborah held the baby girl. My husband followed behind, smiling, carrying bags. As we stepped inside, I paused. For 25 years this house knew only silence. Now it was filled with the cries of children. I sat down and started to cry. "Why are you crying?" my husband asked. I smiled through tears. Because I forgot what life sounds like. That night I didn't sleep. I just watched them breathe. 6 weeks later, when we came back from the hospital with the triplets, my husband and I carried them home. He organized a big celebration. Everyone came. People from the village gathered, especially since Deborah had lost her mother. Her father, the elders, and many others all came. The whole village celebrated with so much joy. 60. I felt alive again. When blessings come, people gather. Neighbors visited, pretending to care. But they came to watch and judge. One woman, Mama Chitty, pulled me aside. "Are you not afraid?" she asked. "The young wife may take everything from you." I looked at her calmly. "When I was in pain, where were you?" I asked. "This woman is my daughter. These children are my life. If you came to bring trouble, take it somewhere else." She left. From that day I guarded my peace. The bond. At night, when the babies cried, my husband slept. But Deborah and I would wake. No words needed. I carried 1 child. She carried the others. We sat quietly rocking them. One night she said, "Mommy, thank you for not hating me." I touched her face. "Thank you for giving me a reason to stay." That was when I understood. Motherhood is not about blood. It is about love. More blessings. We thought the triplets were enough. But 2 years later, Deborah got pregnant again. I looked at her and smiled. Again? This time twins. A boy and a girl. 5 children in less than 4 years. The house became full of life. My husband worked harder, but happier. Every evening the children ran to him shouting, "Daddy." He would look at me and whisper, "Thank you." People asked me, "How did you keep your place?" The answer was Deborah. Every Sunday we went to church. My husband drove. Deborah always opened the front door for me. "Mommy, sit in front," she would say. "You are the head of this home." Even when people mocked her, she stood firm. "I am not a servant," she said. "I am a queen raised by an empress. If I don't honor her, my children won't honor me." That is the secret. Respect is a seed. If you plant it, it will protect you later. We walked into church as one family. 1 man, 2 women, 5 children. And people didn't see confusion. They saw grace. The first day of school came. 5 children to prepare. The house was busy from early morning. I ironed their uniforms. Deborah packed their lunch. My husband searched for missing socks. It was chaotic, but beautiful. At the school gate, people stared. They whispered, "Isn't that the woman who waited 25 years?" I held the younger ones. Deborah held the triplets. When the teacher asked, "Who is the mother?" Deborah took my hand and said, "We are both mothers. But this is Big Mama." I stood tall. That day, I was no longer the woman without a child. I was the head of a family. Samuel fell sick. His body burned with fever. Deborah panicked. I took control. "Bring cold water," I said. I stayed awake all night, cooling his body and praying. God, you gave him to us. Please don't take him. Around 4 a.m. the fever broke. He opened his eyes and whispered, "Big Mama, a water." Deborah knelt beside me. "Mommy, thank you," she said. That night I understood something. My years of waiting were not wasted. They prepared me for this moment. No more labels. One day a relative visited. She saw Deborah sitting with the children. Later she whispered, "She was just a maid. Don't forget." I looked at her. "I don't see a maid," I said. "I see a mother. A wife. Family. If you can't respect that, you shouldn't be here." I showed her the door. From that day, nobody called Deborah a servant again. Then came the teenage stage. Noise. Arguments. Late nights. One day my daughter shouted, "You are not my real mother." The room went silent. Before I could speak, Deborah stepped in. "You will never say that again," she said firmly. "This woman gave us everything. Respect her." The girl broke down and apologized. That day the children learned the truth. We were one. The big achievement. Time moved fast. Soon we were at the airport. The triplets were leaving for university. My husband tried to stay strong. I kept checking their bags. Before leaving, my son held both our hands. "I have two mothers," he said. "One gave me life. The other taught me how to live. I am blessed." I watched them walk away. Then I leaned on Deborah. "We did it," I whispered. "We were no longer a story people." Question. We became a story people admired. My children are doing very well now. After finishing school, they went into business. It seems to run in their blood, and they are doing so well. My married daughter is also thriving, and the others are excelling in their careers. The youngest is still in school, but I know she will do great things too. One morning I looked in the mirror. My hair had turned silver. My knees ached a little. I smiled. I once feared growing old in silence. Now my house is full of life. Deborah walked in and saw me standing. "Mommy, sit down," she said, bringing a chair. "The girls and I will handle breakfast." Deborah called me and promised, "Mommy, I will take care of you. My children will take care of you for the rest of your life. You will never lack anything." She still treats me like a queen. Over the years, our bond grew stronger. Not two women, but one family. Then came our daughter's wedding. She looked beautiful in white. Before the ceremony, she knelt before me. "Big Mama, thank you. Your decision gave me life." I held her and said, "Love is not just a feeling. It is a choice you make every day." At the church we stood together. My husband in the middle. Me on one side. Deborah on the other. People looked, but this time with respect. They saw a family built on love. The grandchildren. Soon we became grandmothers. When our daughter gave birth, Deborah and I both rushed to her side. My husband laughed. "Who will take care of me?" We looked at him and said, "You have hands." We cared for the baby together. One day a neighbor asked, "Which one is the real mother?" Our daughter smiled. "One gave me life. The other gave me a future. I don't choose. I have both." On my 65th birthday, my children surprised me. They organized a big celebration. But the most important moment was the speech. My son stood and said, "Some people have one mother. Some have none. But we have two. One with a heart big enough to create a family, and one humble enough to keep it together." I looked at my husband. He was in tears. Deborah held my hand tightly. In that moment I understood. I didn't lose anything 25 years ago. I gained everything. So I ask you, are you waiting for something? A prayer that hasn't been answered? Don't let bitterness control your life. If I had chosen anger, I would be alone today. But I chose love. And love built this home. My name is Van Atta. I am 65 years old. A wife. A mother. A grandmother. And my house is finally full. May your home be filled with love that brings everyone together. Thank you so much for journeying through this tale with me. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this wisdom, and subscribe to join our growing family of storytellers. Your support truly means everything. I'd love to hear from you. Which part of the story resonated with you most? And let me know which part of the world you're watching from. I read every comment and they truly keep me going. See you in the next story. I love you all. God bless you. Bye.